Alrighty, welcome guys. Welcome to episode 168. Today we're going to be talking about dogs, trauma, and anything else that I want to get into. But recently in my life, we've had a new neighbor come to the neighborhood, and obviously neighborhood, and has moved in next door. And this neighbor, they went ahead and they seem like cool people, fine people, whatever. Nothing against them. They seem like good folk. And so we have a dog that is absolutely, I would say untrained would be a proper, I think it would be a fair assumption to make. A beautiful dog, all black dog, German Shepherd, and has an abundant amount of energy. Love her. Good thing, good dog, whatever. But she has no, I would say she has a very minimal experience with other dogs. You know, I think that's a fair statement to make. I think a lot of people would agree with me when I make that statement. So what does that mean? That means that this dog, my dog Charlie, has a very, not unhealthy, but a unbalanced relationship with other dogs, I would say. I think that would be a fair statement to make. I think most people would agree with me. A loving dog, caring dog, beautiful dog, and but doesn't have the most. She doesn't have a large amount of exposure to other dogs. So we kind of been blessed with having a neighbor for the last 10, 15 years. I don't know how long I've lived here. Since I was 12, so probably 13 years of my life, 12 years of my life. I forgot my age there for a second. She hasn't had a neighbor that was a dog. So it's been nice in the sense that there's been no chaos, right? So as of, I think the past month, 2 months, we've had a new neighbor. I haven't met them. I don't know them, but I do know they have two beautiful Boston Terrier pits. I think Boston Terrier pits, all white. All white dogs. Maybe not. No, not a Boston Terrier. A Terrier pit. Terrier pit bull. Yeah, that's what it is. Terrier pit bull white. Just a beautiful dog. I mean, really is. It's a gorgeous dog. Maybe not that either. Taller. A tall Terrier pit. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's a huge dog. It's beautiful, and there's two of them. And they just sit out, and, you know, I've seen them. They put up a fence and everything. But Charlie, my dog, has never been introduced to these dogs. And just as of 10 minutes ago, the first interaction happened, and they just ran up and down the fence and barked at each other the entire time. And I think there's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that are coming up, you know, already, which how are they going to meet? Is the best way to mend this ongoing issue going to be just an interaction on the leash? Is there ever going to be a interaction at all? Are we going to have to schedule times when we can't let out the dogs? I'm not sure. It's going to be fascinating to see how this whole thing ends up going down. You know, they seem like sweet dogs. Our dog seems like a sweet dog, but you know, it's going to be fascinating to see what goes down between our dog and their dogs. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really got to talk about there. I thought that was going to go a lot farther, but Jesus Christ, Texas, man, what is going on out there in Texas? I've grown up in Maryland, so we've had snow for forever, right? I've grown up with snow. Every winter we have like the most normal amount of snow, the most normal seasons. In the summertime, you know, we're averaging like 85. We get up to 100 every once in a while. It's rare, but every once in a while it happens. You know, during the fall, you know, we get moderately cold weather. We might get a snowstorm in November, maybe, but it's pretty rare. You know, usually we don't get our first snow until January, mid to late January, February, March. You know, sometimes snow in April, but normally not. Normally it stops snowing around March, January, February, March. Springtime, we get flowers. Like, I think the East Coast, the mid East Coast, tends to get very normal seasons, right? Up north, pretty normal seasons too, right? Down south, so Florida, California, Texas, they kind of miss out on winter, right? They don't really get snow. Obviously, the majority of California won't get snow. Washington won't really get snow unless you go to the mountains. They kind of get rain when it gets cold. But where I live in Maryland, you get snow, right? So you're used to snow. Because you're used to snow, you have snow plows. You have like all the landscaping companies in Maryland. They also, I will not make that happen. Joe Biden shoots down $50,000 student loan for forgiveness plan. Biden again rejects $50,000 student loan forgiveness plan purchased by the top Democrats. I thought that was something that he wanted to run on. I thought President Joe Biden had a clear response when asked Tuesday by a CNN town hall attendee how he would enact a $50,000 student debt forgiveness plan. I would not make that happen. The president's dismissal comes as some congressional Democrats have endorsed a student debt forgiveness program that would cancel up to $50,000 in debts by America. My point is, I understand the impact of debt, and it could be debilitating, Biden assured. I'm prepared to write off the $10,000 debt, but not $50,000, because I don't think I have the authority to do it, said Biden, who has argued that president doesn't have unilateral power to cancel student debt, an idea that has gained traction among progressives. In December, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren jointly called on Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt. Dozens of Democrats in the House of Representatives introduced a joint bill. Biden has recited that such calls thus far, arguing Tuesday that debt forgiveness should ideally depend on whether or not you go to a private university or public university or federal. Yeah, see, I agree with him. I do not agree with just canceling debt. I'll get to that in a second, but I want to finish up with Texas. Like, what is going on, man? It seems like it's just completely falling apart. And it's super fascinating because in Texas, they're not used to snow, right? And another winter snowstorm will bring snow and ice to 100 million people from the south to the east coast. It's having an impact on literally the stock market. Like, petroleum, oil is flying through the roof. Gas prices have surged. They have no power. It's just interesting to see how the weather, something that we kind of just all take for granted, can have such an impact on an economy. I mean, Texas is like shut down right now. Austin has snow, and I think 3 weeks ago they had snow. But now it looks like they don't know what to do. They're kind of just at a standstill. And it's like if this happened in Wisconsin or Minnesota, Vermont. Vermont has the most snow each year. I never would have expected that. I think they average 86 inches of snow a year. Snowiest states in the U.S. 89.25 average snow is Vermont. That's fast. I wouldn't expect that. I would expect Vermont to be lower. I would expect Alaska or Colorado to be higher, but I guess Alaska doesn't really get that much snow. I think it's just so cold that it doesn't melt. Michigan, New York, where does Maryland fall? We fall 28th, 20.61 inches. So just average amount of snow. New York, top 10, 7. Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Colorado. The bottom is Hawaii at 0.00 inches of snow, so no snow. Florida has 0.01. I don't know where they get that 0.01. I want to know who gets that 0.01. Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, California gets 3.76. Obviously, all that's up in the mountains and everything. But Texas doesn't know what to do. They're just unraveling. They don't know how to deal with it. Texas gets, they average 1.36 inches of snow, but this year they're already in the U.S. 2021. Alaska has the most, 64.46 averages inches of snow. Texas has less than 10. Maryland, obviously, we're getting no snow this year. It's kind of wild to think about. So who's number one? Vermont, snowiest snow. Snowiest states right now. America, Maine. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, it looks like Texas just like folding under the pressure right now. They don't know what to do, and it seems like, I don't know, it's just fascinating. I never thought like snow would bring a standstill, but it's funny to see. It's not funny, but it's fascinating to see how just much of effect that has with like vaccines, everything from vaccines to oil markets, and how the accidents are happening. Not Bill Gates, what's his face? Warren Buffett went ahead and sold a bunch of Apple shares, which is, kind of concerning, but he owns so much. I think Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway owned 6% of the shares from Apple. So I wonder who owns the most. Who owns most shares of Apple? Yeah, Warren Buffett was up there. Now he only owns 5.63%, 944 million shares. Vanguard owns 7, over 1 billion shares of Apple. That's crazy. BlackRock is up there. Fidelity, SSGA, T. Rowe, Northern Trust Investments. Vanguard total stock market has the most, 2.57%. S&P, Vanguard, QQQ. I own QQQ and Vanguard. The whole market's down today. I'm recording this Wednesday. The whole market's struggling right now. It's kind of going back up a little bit for me. I went ahead and gave into the hype, and I went ahead and bought Dogecoin. I mean, I'm kind of just, so there's a really cool, there's a fascinating chart that one of my friends showed me, and he showed me a chart from Bitcoin back in 2010, and Bitcoin. So if you look up Bitcoin price since 2010. Let's see if I can pull this up. Price history. This is Investopedia. Let's go to it. Should show me a chart. Okay, it won't show me a chart because. Okay, there we go. That's a good chart. Here we go. Okay, so since 2000, that doesn't show me what I want. Bitcoin. And this is why I went ahead and bought. Into Bitcoin. So let's pull up on Bitcoin on Yahoo Finance. A lot of people are buying into Bitcoin right now. It's really fascinating to see. MicroStrategy went ahead and bought into Bitcoin. They're like, I think they're one of the biggest public companies that own Bitcoin. I own an ETF, like I was telling you guys. I own an ETF called it doesn't go back that far. I guess that one's gonna have to work. I can just kind of guess. But they went ahead and bought I think $600 million more worth of Bitcoin. But they own the biggest amount of Bitcoin. So if you look at Bitcoin since 2010, it was 0.05 cents. And now it's skyrocketed all the way up to $50,000. And if you look at Dogecoin, they're kind of doing the same thing, right? And like right now, they're kind of 0.05. I'm not saying Dogecoin can get up to anywhere near what Bitcoin got up to. I'm not saying they're going to be a $50,000 cryptocurrency, but what I'm saying is as Bitcoin takes off, as Chainlink takes off, as Ethereum takes off, as Litecoin takes off, all these companies are going to take off. I really do think that Dogecoin is going to have the advantage of kind of catching the tailwind of that and hitting a strong growth. And I think they can get up to $1 by 2022. And if they get up to like $10, I mean, if they just get up to $1, I own 1,000 coins. That's $1,000. $10,000 if they get up to $10, and you can do the math. $100, whatever, $100,000. I don't know. I don't think they could get up that high, but I'm not sure, and I'm not gonna put it against them. I mean, right now the market, the way it's acting is so fascinating because, as all these like stimulus packages come around, like don't get me wrong, like free money's always nice, but free money doesn't come with any consequences. Like the biggest consequence is going to come from all this free money is inflation is going to go through the roof. And it is something I do worry about and I do think about often because there's so much people sitting on a lot of money right now. You know, just as there's a lot of people struggling financially, there's a lot of people who've been collecting a lot of unemployment, a lot of stimulus checks, a lot of like free money. Like I know local towns and counties and cities and states are like giving out money, right? Because there's an over allocation of a certain amount of money that was supposed to go to these funds. And if there's too much money, then what do they just got to get rid of it. So they literally giving away money. So this families right now, and I know this kind of sounds like I'm completely disconnected from reality. I'm not, but there is a lot of people sitting on a lot of money right now, like a lot of money, and I think it's not really spoken about too much, because I think the more popular thing to talk about, which should be spoken about a lot, is the people that are struggling so much financially and how they're struggling through the roof right now to make enough money for the family. But at the same token, there's a lot of people making a lot of money right now and not spending it. Like a lot. Like you got to think about all these people that normally, I mean, I can't put a number on it, but just how many, like, I guess I can look something up like this. How many U.S. families vacation each year? 100. Okay, so across the U.S., families are gearing up for so this is 2019, another year of travel. According to a recent AAA travel survey, nearly 100 million Americans, 4 in 10 U.S. adults, are planning to take a family vacation in 2019, slightly more than last year. Average price of a vacation. This is going to be such a broad question to ask, but we're going to go ahead and give it a go. Just so I can pull up an app. So here we go. Average cost of vacation. The average vacation costs $1,145 per person, or $4,584. Family of 4. So 100 million Americans. So family of 4. Here's what to expect. So let's just do some simple math real quick. 100 million people. I don't know if my phone can calculate that. 100 million people times 1145. I don't know what that is. A billion? I think it's a billion. I'm so dumb. I should definitely know this, but I don't want to get it wrong. So we're going to pull up a calculator real quick. So 100 million people. How many zeros is that? 3, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Times, what was it? 1145. 1145. What is that? 1145. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So that's like, I think that's $11 billion. Either way, 11 billion or 1.14 billion, whatever it is, that's how much money people are sitting on right now, because no one can get vacation. Obviously, it's a little bit less than that. Let's just say it's $10 billion people are sitting on right now because they couldn't go on vacation. That money's going to get spent somehow, right? That money's going to be spent somehow. And I do think there's a worry when too much money is spent at one time. In the way that things are kind of working with COVID, in the way it's kind of depleting. I mean, if you look at the world COVID numbers, they're depleting at such a exponential de-exponential rate. Like, I mean, right now, February 16th, only 192,000 new cases. If you go back to January 20th, 1.7 million cases. Like, that's almost too fast. That's almost too quick. And I do worry that if it continues just to nosedive like that, I mean, you're looking at that. I mean, what is that? I have no, like, what percentage is that? I got to be able to pull that up somehow. So 1.7. So 1723209 divided by 192,266. Nope, other way around. 192,266 divided by 1723209. That's wait, what? 11? No. That's an 89% drop. That's an 89% drop in COVID cases right there. I mean, if we just go, I don't even know, 0.89 times 192,266. So 0.11 times 192,266. 21,000 cases. So we could be looking at this if we continue on the same route, on the same pace that we're going right now, from the 89% drop from the 20th of January to the 16th of February. If we just go March 20th, we're going to be looking at 21,000 cases a day. Times that by 0.11, 2,000 cases in April. Times that by 0.11, 255 cases. I'm not. Those numbers obviously aren't that accurate. I think that it won't go taper that much. But there is a possibility that around April, that May, June area, COVID could be almost gone. Most of the world's going to be vaccinated at that point. And I don't care what the news stations you're watching. Most people are going to be vaccinated just simply because, honestly, capitalism is forcing these vaccinations to happen because there's a lot of money to be made. And I know, care about people. Cool, I get it. But you got to realize, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, these Novavax, these huge companies, as much as they want to get rid of COVID, they also want to get paid to get rid of COVID. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I think capitalism has shown just how amazing it is, because, especially during this time period, because the reason why we have a vaccine that's out so quickly is because of capitalism. I mean, you're looking at a situation where, especially this next stimulus package comes out, and I do worry a bit that we don't need this next stimulus package. It's nice to have, but I almost don't think we need it. I could be completely disconnected from reality, and a lot of people could need this, and I do know a lot of people do need this next stimulus package. But at the same exact time, $1.9 trillion more debt, and you're looking at a time where April, May to June, everyone's going to have all this money. The economy is going to open, and it's just going to be a quick influx of a lot of people spending a lot of money, and that's going to, the more money you put in the market, the more money you put in the economy, that's going to decrease the value of the dollar, because the value of the dollar slowly decreasing over time. It seems like it's going to just continue to decrease simply just because so much is being printed, so much money is being printed. It's an absurd amount of money, Watch this. Percentage of money printed in 2020. Here we go. Look at the stat. More than $3 trillion has been created in 2020 alone, which means that almost 20% of all existing US dollars has been created in 2020. That's insane. That's a recipe for disaster. And everyone who's ever answered or ever asked those questions about, can't you just print money? Yeah, you can. You can. And all those people who think that that's a viable way of getting out of recession, it's only a viable way if the way that it's printed and the economy opens, it slowly starts opening. But you and I both know people don't do that. The moment people get the okay to do anything, especially in America, it's just utter chaos. People just lose their minds. They just run the streets naked. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see here. I think you're going to see the U.S. dollar. It's pretty strong right now, but it's going to decrease a lot by June. I think this time next summer, this time in 2022, I think the economy is going to be almost fully stabilized again. I think our GDP is going to be a lot higher. I think we're going to be making China run for their money. And I also do believe that this summer there's going to be high inflation rates. And I think this summer Bitcoin is going to go through the roof, because I think a lot of people are treating Bitcoin. So I think people my age, people between 20 to 40, maybe 35, treat Bitcoin like money. I think for me, in 50 years, I think Bitcoin's going to be used the same way the dollar's used. I do really believe that. I also think everyone's going to be driving electric cars. I know Ford just came out and said 2030 they're only going to be making electric cars by 2030. That's only 9 years from now. But I think people between 20 to 35 know that Bitcoin is going to be at par, if not take over the US dollar, for the way that the way that transactions happen. And I think it's going to be international. I think Bitcoin's going to be number one. I think Dogecoin's going to make me some money. It's going to make a lot of people some money. And I think anybody over the age of 40, 40 to death, 40 to 60, because I think anyone after 60 doesn't even know what Bitcoin is. I think maybe 70. I think a lot of these people are going to look at Bitcoin the way they look at gold, something that holds its value during recession. Either way, it's fine with me. But I am fascinated to see what the summer brings when inflation goes through the roof. I want to see what the stock market does, because I know for me, the stock market has been really well, but I think the stock market has been doing super well because I think the market has been able to just ignore the pandemic and just been paying attention to money. It seems like these stimulus packages, every time the market's going crazy, it's already eyeing the next stimulus package. So it's not, the market isn't living in reality. And I think that's a common thing for the stock market. I think the stock market never lives in reality. I think it lives in what it prices itself at, what the future is, and it reacts aggressively to current moments. Hence the coronavirus crash when it dropped like 20% on March 19th. But it's going to shake up a lot of things. I think it's good to shake up a lot of things, but I think Bitcoin is just going to keep going through the roof. I mean, it started with Tesla. Apple Pay is going to start accepting it. JP Morgan said something about it. Morgan Stanley, MasterCard, like all these companies are starting to get into it. And once, I think the retail investors are already into it. And I think the people, like who owns the most Bitcoin? Launched in 2009. Barry Silbert is the chief executive officer of Digital Currency Group. Barry Silbert, I don't know who that guy is. That guy's a billionaire though. CEO, he's an epicenter of the Bitcoin and blockchain industry, supports and invests in companies all over the world. What a day. It's estimated worth $500 million. Blith Masters, Dan Moorhead, Tyler and Cameron Waskonoffs, Michael Novogratz. Okay, I don't care about those people. I guess the founder of it probably owns the most. But it's I don't know. I do think there's a huge market out there for Bitcoin, and I think a lot of people are going to be making a lot of money through Bitcoin. Who are these guys? Wickenus brothers, Tyler Wickenus. I don't know who this guy is. I've heard about it. I think I heard Logan Paul talk about it one time. They own a lot of Bitcoin. Yeah, $1 billion. They're worth $1 billion. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. I think the decade of 2020 is gonna be amazing. I still stick to what I said about marijuana. I think marijuana is going to be the next industry. I think you've already seen it pop off a few times. The only issue with it is it did get stuck in the Wall Street bets thing, which kind of sucked. But there's a lot of good things happening for it right now. Cory Booker's talking about it. Andrew Cuomo amend proposal to legalize marijuana. New Jersey legal weed just hit a snag. Yet another one. Oh, well, that sucks. Cannabis, top 10 marijuana, psychedelic stocks, whatever. I just own THCX. I also own Block, which I've known talk about Block a decent amount of times here, but I think Block is going to be a huge ETF. It tracks companies that own a lot of Bitcoin and trade cryptocurrency. And obviously, since I don't want to get into Bitcoin, I don't own any Bitcoin, by the way. I just wanted to make that very clear. I own $0 worth of Bitcoin, and simply the reason why I don't own any Bitcoin is because it's too expensive to get in. I only own Dogecoin, which is kind of insane. I think, oh my God. Gunman kidnaps at least 20 boys from Nigerian boarding school. This happens all the time. Gunmen stormed a north central Nigerian boarding school early Wednesday, kidnapping at least 20 teenage boys, the local governor said. The second mass abduction of children to shake the country in 3 months. The attackers raided the government science secondary school in the town of Kagera before sunrise and dragged the classmates into the dense woods. Police initially said they suspected hundreds could have been taken. 3 teachers and 12 family members also vanished into the night. God, Schools in the region have been shuttered. Helicopters hovered over the treetops as security forces continue their search, and by mid-morning, authorities were still counting the missing. No one asserted responsibility for the ambush, but the region is regularly afflicted by criminal gangs. Authorities call them bandits that take hostages for ransom. God, dude. The threat recently collided with Boko Haram, the extremist group that gained global notoriety after abducting hundreds of schoolgirls in 2014. The group has killed at least 36,000 people and forced millions from their homes over the past decade, striking most often near a stronghold in the Lake Chad Basin. God, dude. The line between Boko Haram and the bandits is getting more and more blurred, said a sub-Saharan African researcher. More broadly, this is another demonstration of the deteriorating insecurity in Nigeria. They could have been copycats seeking big ransom payouts, he said, or the mass abduction could be another sign of extreme organizations expanding their reach across Africa's most populous nations. West Africa faces the fastest growing Islamist insurgents in the world. Unrest by disparate forces is rocking Nigeria and three of its neighbors, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The Boko Haram spawned an offshoot in recent years, the Islamic State in West Africa, which more typically strikes military targets. God, dude. I don't want to see the video, but I just clicked the video. So I guess they just take kids and then they sell them. They sell them back to the town, or we kill the kids. I mean, it seems like a good way to make money, but Jesus Christ, it's dark. That's brutal, man. Africa is like, I don't know, like it's such a... It was, I don't know, it's just kind of always been chaos. It's always been chaos for a lot of reasons. I think the biggest reason why is because, you know, back when they were just part of Europe and they were part of the UK and India and all these places owned them, they didn't divide the countries up the right way. First of all, they just divided the countries up. Second of all, they literally looked at a map and of Africa. They just put lines through it and started like, this is your piece of cake. This is your piece of cake. And all these tribes in Africa, like you're breaking up families and you're breaking up tribes, and you have these people who don't like each other now on the same team. Like imagine if you broke up Russia and the United States in 1990 during the Cold War and you just put them together, right? And like they're gonna try to claim that area, and then you're gonna have violence just break out. It's crazy. It's scary. It's scary because it's almost like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? How do you control that? How do you control that? It's a it's a humanitarian issue, right? But what do you do? It's scary. It's scary just to see stuff happen like that. I don't know, man. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. And it happens all the time. And then they release these videos of like them just cutting off people's heads and stuff. Prince Philip, husband of UK Queen Elizabeth, admitted to hospital. Now, this made me sad, right? The reason why this made me sad, I don't know much about Prince Philip, but I have been watching The Crown, and I love The Crown. The Crown's it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I've never been much of a TV watcher, but during COVID, I obviously had more time to stay at home. So I've been watching a lot of The Crown. I finished up Queen's Gambit, which was an amazing show. But The Crown's really good. And it's crazy to think about Prince Philip. Prince Philip's sister was a Nazi. His great-grandmother, I think, or great-great-great-grandmother or great-great-great-grandmother was Queen Victoria. So was Queen Elizabeth's. Like, Queen Elizabeth's great-great-great-grandmother was also Queen Victoria. So they're like cousins, right? Which is kind of strange. And Prince Philip's mom was super fascinating. She was Prince Philip's mom. She was cool. Princess Alice of Battenberg was the mother of Prince Philip and mother-in-law of Queen Elizabeth II, a great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria. She was born in Windsor Castle and grew up in the United Kingdom. which is super fascinating. But she was outcasted. I think they put her into a crazy home essentially, and she was actually worked on by Sigmund Freud. Isn't that nuts? That's like, I was watching The Crown and they talked about that. Alice apparently began to behave in a very disturbed manner, which led to her receiving diagnosis of schizophrenia and being referred to psychoanalysis. Was she really treated by Sigmund Freud? Yes. Sigmund Freud really did consult on Princess Alice's mental health, according to psychologists. After being exiled from Greece, Alice began to behave in a very disturbed manner. Became very religious. I found it really fascinating. It's just crazy to think, like, first of all, it's kind of crazy to think that all of them were like related to each other. Like all the queens and princes and kings are all like they're all family members. A lot of incest going on there. But it's crazy because Queen Elizabeth's, the current queen, 94 years old, worked with Winston Churchill, which is insane to think about. She worked with Winston Churchill when she was young. She's 94 years old. Prince Philip's dad worked closely with Hitler, right? I want to say Prince Philip's dad. I don't no, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't. I don't think. Maybe Prince Andrew of Greece. Hitler. The tragedy of young Prince Philip, the Nazis, the Crown Prince Victor. Okay, yeah. So Prince Philip's sister worked with the Nazis. Was a Nazi. Queen Elizabeth, because in the show it shows him like at her funeral, just followed out by a bunch of Nazi soldiers. Queen Elizabeth's dad's brother, so her uncle, what's his name? Edward the Eighth, who was supposed to be. Was it Edward the Eighth? Yeah. Edward the Eighth was supposed to be the king, but he ended up getting abducted because he got a divorce. No, he married a divorced woman, right? But what's really fascinating about him is Nazis. He worked very closely with the Nazis, which you would never guess. Were Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson Nazi sympathizers? You can literally see these pictures of him standing next to Adolf Hitler. And it's crazy to think that Queen Elizabeth's uncle worked with Adolf Hitler. Like, you just start thinking of Europe as like this one sketchy place. And to think that we, at the United States, like, escape, like, we're basically all like Europeans, but we escaped there in the 1700s. And apparently, Edward VIII's wife, yeah, definitely supported Hitler. She's right there doing the Hitler salute. Yeah, that's wild, man. She apparently she had an affair with one of Hitler's, I think the secretary of Nazi Communist Party or something like that. It's really wild. I don't know. It's a really good show. It's one of my favorite shows, and I think everyone should definitely go ahead and give it a watch. But yeah, that's all I got. I don't really have too much more to talk about. Closing in at 40 minutes. I want to make sure it's a 40-minute podcast, so we're gonna ramble on for another minute or so because that's what we do. God, it was a great show. The Crown is it's super good. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth watches it too, that's crazy to think about. I don't know, man. I don't know. I do worry about the summer, man. I do worry about inflation, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm excited, man. It's I keep on telling all my buddies to invest. I do have a Robinhood link in the description box below. If you guys do want to go ahead and if you guys do want to make any purchases for your portfolios, go ahead and use my link. I get a free stock and you get a free stock, and then we're all happy, right? We're all happy people if we all get free stocks. But I literally have class here in 4 minutes, so we're closing into 40 minutes. We're going to end it right at 40 minutes. But if you guys enjoy the podcast, go ahead and leave it a like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and leave it a rating on Apple. I think we're just at about 700 reviews on Apple, which is amazing. We're closing into another huge milestone on overall audio listens, so I'm going to tell you guys that once we hit that. Yeah, guys, in the meantime, hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. I don't know what that's going to be, the 22nd, 23rd. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Have a good time. Enjoy it with your family. Watch out for the vid. Get vaccinated if you need to or if you want to. Or if you don't listen to me. Do whatever you want. But love you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in episode 169. Peace out. See ya.